have so many questions. Show me the answers. I'm afraid. Why am I here? What's the intention? Should I
Welcome back, everyone, to an ordinary search for truth. My name is Nate, and today I thought I would take you on a little thought experiment. Just a little metaphor and imagination to take your mind to the limits of what it's capable of understanding, but doing so in a way that I can point you toward certain aspects about consciousness that are kind of difficult to understand. I haven't really run across this particular imagery or thought experiment before. And so I'll say that I developed it myself. I haven't run into it yet. There might be something similar out there. If so, let me know down in the comments if you've run across something like this. You've probably heard uh, certain from certain places that there's claims that reality could be a virtual reality simulation. That how do we know we're not brains in a vat? These kind of arguments. And so I'm not necessarily arguing these things. I'm not going to be arguing that reality is virtual reality, that we are somehow in a matrix situation. There are certain elements to this that do correlate with what I've found in my own experience and within my understanding of non-duality. But in a large part, it's going a little bit too far and still too conceptual, and it's still too much of a story. But what we're going to be doing today is using our mind, using concepts, things that we can kind of picture in our mind, and uniting that with our direct personal experience to maybe get some insights going, to ask some questions and start doing some wondering that will help you on your path toward discovering what consciousness is and what God consciousness is, what reality itself is, what the world and what we are within consciousness. To begin this, we're going to start with our eyes closed. Okay, and so we're going to begin with an imagination. I'll keep my eyes open because I do have some notes that I'm looking at, but go ahead and close your eyes and just do your best to imagine these things as I describe them. So imagine that you are some sort of alien race. You are a very advanced alien race. Your technology, your understanding of the universe is vastly beyond what we as humans currently know or are currently able to do. This race of aliens that you are a part of has created this capsule, this virtual reality capsule that you are able to get into and in some way will either conform to your body, making it stationary, or there's some sort of computer chip placed in your brain that allows the presentation of a virtual reality to your mind. And so your race has, over the many hundreds of years, perfected this virtual reality machine that you can get into, to the point where it's very difficult to distinguish this artificial reality from, your otherwise reality, the reality of the universe as you experience it in your day-to-day life. Imagine that you're going to be getting into this capsule. So go ahead and get into the capsule. Imagine yourself in whatever form you're picturing the capsule, whatever form you're picturing yourself. Go ahead and get into the capsule. It's going to close around you, and it's going to be pitch black. All right, and this is where we're starting. So your eyes are closed, it's pitch black, and you're in the capsule. Now, as just a side note before we dive into it, imagine that there are a countless number of these capsules. So an infinite number. Now, obviously, your mind can't comprehend an infinite number of these capsules. So do your best to imagine the largest amount of them that you possibly can. Whether they're stacked on top of one another, stretching on just in both directions for as far as the eye can see, whether it's in this grid array pattern going off in all directions, or even in a giant cube. Whatever you need to picture the largest amount of these that you can, go ahead and picture that. And you're just getting into one of them. All the others are occupied by other members of your race. They're also occupied by other members of other races, but they've all got someone in them. And all of you together were the ones that created this virtual world. You all participated in the programming, you all participated in the design, you all participated in the building of it, the testing of it, and it's complete at this point. There's nothing left to do. It is absolutely perfect. And you are getting into this capsule to experience this world that countless minds have come together to create. So it's currently dark inside the capsule. Your eyes are still closed. Now imagine that the system for you is booting up. And so imagine what that looks like. It's booting up. It's getting ready to present the world to you. Now open your eyes right now. Just look around. Okay, kind of set your ideas aside about what this world is and all the things that you know about this world, all of your scientific ideas, your beliefs, all of that. Just set it to the side for just a moment and really try to pull yourself into this imagination, into this thought experiment. So when you open your eyes, look around as if you were currently now an alien sitting in a virtual reality machine that can so perfectly mimic visual stimuli, auditory stimuli, tactile, feeling stimuli, taste, hearing, this sense of movement. This virtual reality machine is absolutely sensational in how real it feels. So go ahead and look around, touch some things, feel, wow, these feel really solid. Breathe in the air. Wow, amazing. Imagine if you really were in a VR situation like this, like how incredible that would be. Like, oh my goodness. And so take in all the sights and all the sounds and all the stimulus that you're receiving, and understand that yes, it's being generated virtually, but man, how easy it is to get lost in it all because it's so real. It feels so real. When you look at your hand, realize that this isn't your actual hand. This is your game hand. This is the one that you're being presented with, your avatar within this world. And so it's being generated so that when you look at it, you see what appears to be a solid hand. When you intend to move it, it moves, open and close. You can wiggle your fingers. It's crazy. You can touch it, and it feels. You get sensation. How amazing is that? It really locks in the sense that this is your hand, that it's real, that exists. In fact, your whole body is this. It's this avatar, this projection. So this isn't your actual alien body. This is just a a body that you've been given, and it appears to look like this human form. This is what you have built for yourself. This is the avatar you have chosen to move around within this virtual world and experience it. Let's say that you have spent the last day experiencing this game. So instead of just stepping into the capsule just now, imagine that you stepped into it when you woke up this morning. That when it booted up, it was you waking up this morning, today. Just imagine that for a moment. That everything that you did, everywhere that you went, everything that you felt and heard and saw today was a virtual reality construction. Just kind of look back on the day and think about interactions that you've had with other people. And recognize that what you saw when you were interacting with them was their avatars that they have chosen to interact in this world with. They are in their own capsules, entering this world. And so when you're interacting with them, it's your avatars responding to one another that you have control over. And what a really rich experience today has been. Wow, a lot of stuff to remember. Now that you've kind of set yourself in this virtual reality, we're going to kind of take a step back into the imagination that we've created behind this, as far as you being an alien in a capsule. We're going to go back to that for a moment and think about some more possibilities. Okay? So you tried to imagine an infinite number of these capsules. Now, the way that I liked to imagine it is that they were stacked on top of each other, like this, going up and down in both directions just forever. And I was in one of these somewhere in the middle. Now, imagine that your race that has created this system, this incredible system, is so advanced that they are not limited to space in terms of 3 dimensions. That actually they have been able to figure out how to access infinite dimensions, all of the dimensions. As many dimensions as you can think of, they can access these. So now imagine that in each dimension, they have built one of these capsules. So the one that you stepped into, that's the only one that was apparent within your dimension. But there's still an infinite number of these capsules. However, they are separated not by space, in a grid format or stacked on top of each other. They're not separated in that way, but rather they're actually built in the same place. It's the same machine location. However, the infinite amount of them have been built in different dimensions within the same space. Same space, infinite different dimensions. So you're unaware of any of these other capsules at the time when you're stepping into yours, because they're shifted just a little bit in dimension to where you're not aware of them in your dimension. And in their dimension, they stepped into theirs, and that was the only one there. And so they're all existing instead of, they're all here, all right now, right here in the same spot. And now kind of imagine just a few of these other iterations of these capsules, and imagine that they're inhabited and that those aliens, creatures, or whatever are experiencing their own world. You can have a shared world. When you talked to a member of your family or a friend or a coworker today, they were in their own capsule experiencing the world with their avatar, but they actually are existing in the same space. So all of your heads are in the exact same space, separated only by dimension. Okay? So that puts a different spin on it. Now, when you appear to be separated within the virtual world from this other person, and you're talking to them and you see their avatar, really what is behind the appearance, their actual self, is actually they're sitting exactly where you are sitting. in real life, in the reality outside of the virtual world. They're sitting exactly where you're sitting, but you're able to share the same space because you're separated by different dimensions. Okay, so that in and of itself is kind of mind-blowing. But it's going to get weirder. Okay, so really try to comprehend as best you can with your mind this idea that all of these different consciousnesses or entities can be existing in the same space, but just because they're in the same space does not mean that they have to be experiencing the exact same perspective as you. We're doing that by separating by dimensions. Now, we're going to take this one step further. So now kind of just put that on the back burner. Now think about this. Imagine that your alien race that you are, that you're actually you're the last one of your kind. You're the only one left. And you actually cannot die. You are eternal. You are immortal. You cannot die. There's no end to your life cycle. And you've lived an extremely long life up to this point. So long that in your own reality, you've done everything that there is to do as the alien that you are. You've explored your world to its ends. You've explored your solar system, your galaxy. You've done a lot of stuff. You've had plenty of time to do it, and you can't die. And then one day you had an idea. You thought, well, what if I created my own world? How fun would that be? So you created this capsule system, this hyper intelligent, hyper realistic virtual reality. Because you thought, I've explored all this out here. I'm gonna build my own world and explore that, kind of become a creator in a sense. And this was to, pass the time, have some fun, push the limits of what you can create. So you created this capsule that you just got into a little while ago. Okay, so kind of forget the idea that there's a bunch of different entities that are experiencing this world. This is your world. You created it, you programmed it down to the last, the very last inch. You programmed every inch of it. It's entirely your own. Every color, every shape, every object, everything that can have sensation, all the rules and the limits of this world. You can't walk through walls or walk through doors. That would just be too easy. You need some limits, some constraints on what you can do so that you can really explore it and have it be somewhat challenging. Okay, now let me introduce the idea of time. So you've been alive for so long that you've actually figured out how to go back in time, in a sense. What's fun for you now is you enter into this capsule. And when you enter into this capsule, you're actually born in the world. And you experience what it's like to grow up as a young child. You experience what it's like to become an adult, to learn how to function within this world, how to pursue interests, make money, buy food, eat it. You could say maybe you save the game by going to sleep. You can have fun with this. Really just submerge yourself in this imagination. And since you're eternal, this lifetime really is a blip compared to what you've already lived. So you're born into the game when you log in, and then you're saving along the way, and you create certain memories and whatever. You really enjoy the game. You really try to lose yourself in it, to forget that it's a game and really immerse yourself. And it's so realistic that it's not hard to do. And then at the end, eventually, your life whittles down. Your avatar grows old within the game, and you die. And that's you exiting the capsule. So you exit the capsule. And you think, man, that was fun. That was really fun. But you know what would be also fun? I'd love to be able to see that character I just played from a different point of view. I played that character first person, but I'd love to know what my friend Gary or whatever, what his perspective was on that life that I just lived. So what you're able to do, because you've figured out how to manipulate time, is you can kind of roll back the clock within the game to whatever point you want, and you can spawn into it as whatever character you want. And so you spawn in as your friend Gary or whatever, and you experience what it was like to be born as Gary, and and all of that. But even more fun than this is you actually have created a way to block your memory of the last game that you played, to make it really fun, to make it really exciting. So you go in there and now you're Gary playing the game, and you get to interact with that other avatar that you were before. And since you've already played that character, you get to kind of experience it from a different point of view. How cool is that? And you do this over and over and over and over and over again. Every single character that you can play, you do. Because it's so interesting to see it from these different points of view. To see these same characters from the outside and the inside. It's quite rewarding, you find, to do this. And you do this over and over and over again. You can keep rewinding time to whatever time you want and play any character you want, ever. This game has millions upon millions of different characters. It's a vast world, and you're playing every single one of them. But when you're in the game, you've figured out how to block your memory from past ones that you've played, and so every time it feels fresh and new and exciting. But each time you experience each character, you're in the same capsule. You're looking out from the same, you're looking at the same screen. You're utilizing the same faculties of seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. So now let's kind of move past this thought experiment. Let's move out of it now. We've kind of pushed it to the limits that we can push it. We've juiced the last drop out of the metaphor, and ultimately all metaphors break down. You can only use them as models to a certain point. I want you to notice that in your direct experience, you have always been sitting in the same place. Or you could say that your perspective has always been in the same place. Your avatar within what we call reality, let's just say that it's reality. Let's say that all of this is real, that there really are objects and such and such. But in your experience, you're always right here, and you're always right now. So you never really experience past or future. You only experience those as images in your mind, as memories and imagination of the past and the future. Flashes of images, and they're just like sad little shadows compared to what you're experiencing right now. Like this, I don't care how good your imagination is, it's never going to feel or look or sound as real as this right now. Okay, so when we're talking about time, the only time you've ever experienced is this. Okay, become aware of that. Right here, right now, this is the only time that you've ever experienced. This is the only place you've ever been. You've always been right here. When you were at the grocery store experiencing that, you were right here, and there was a grocery store around you. Right now, when you're watching this movie, you're right here, watching this video. So the grocery store is not there anymore. Right now, you're watching a video. But if you were to pause this video and go to the grocery store, there you would be at the grocery store, but you would still be right here and right now in your experience. So that's kind of what I was trying to portray by saying that you were in this capsule, that your body within the capsule was motionless, but within the world your avatar could go and do many things, but you're still just viewing it from this one place, though the screen might change, though the sensations might change. And another point I was trying to make is rather than thinking of other people as like other separate entities that are in their own capsules, that's good to kind of understand that they're experiencing the same thing that you are as far as being right here and right now. But right here and right now can't also be over there. Right here is right here, no matter where it's being experienced. So you're experiencing right here, and your friend, Gary, or whatever, your family members, if you asked them where they're experiencing from, they would say, well, I'm right here. It's the same place. It is also right here. What I'm saying to you is that that place is the same place. It doesn't appear that way when you look out into the world. It appears that you are separate from them, that you are right here and they're over there. But as far as direct experience is concerned, if we're talking about direct experience, which is really all you have access to, the only place that exists is right here. And the only time that exists is right now. And then the last part I was trying to get you to comprehend is if you really were this eternal being, this eternal entity or alien or whatever, then time really doesn't matter to you. I know it's difficult to comprehend that because we care so much about time, even though all we experience is now, but we operate so much within this what we feel as time, where we feel like the past is always behind us and the future is always in front of us, and we're only ever experiencing now, and it's kind of moving. The future is getting closer and the past is getting further away constantly, like we're moving like this along a timeline. But if you are an eternal being, time just stops mattering. It's, you know, whether you divide infinity into year sections or day sections or month sections or second sections, doesn't matter what you subdivide infinity into, they're all equal. It's it's not even you're not even able to do that. And so that's kind of the background reality. And then when you're in the game, though, when you're in the virtual reality, you are experiencing it, you would be experiencing much like we do, where you live a lifetime from birth to death, blah, 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 you can rewind it. But I want you to take it a step further, where you don't even need to rewind it. Okay, imagine if you have the ability to not need to rewind it, but that you have the ability to actually experience this virtual reality from multiple points of view from all the different characters. You're able to play all the different characters, every avatar, at the same time. At what time? Right now. Every single avatar, you're the one controlling it right now. So again, this is where the metaphor, the imagery starts to break down, because our minds cannot comprehend once we start getting to infinity, to eternity, to timelessness, spacelessness. Our mind cannot comprehend it. It's like trying to imagine an infinite line going on in both directions. You can keep zooming out, and the line will still be there, getting smaller and smaller, but ultimately you cannot imagine an infinite line. It's always going to be some image and then the line extending past that. No matter how big you make that image, the line will keep extending past that. We cannot think about it. When we're talking about non-duality, when we're talking about consciousness, it has many elements of this imagination we just did. The world that we interact with is ultimately kind of an imagination. It's kind of like a virtual reality. It's kind of an illusion. But there is no behind reality. Like there's no alien in a capsule behind this experience. There's no virtual reality machine and programming and stuff going on that we can't see. That's not what's happening. That was something we used in the imagination, but that's not what's happening. This is reality. This is as real as it gets. It doesn't get more real than this. It doesn't get more existy than existence. Existence is what it is. Reality is real. Now, whether or not that's substance, that's a different question, you know. But if we just look at our direct experience and we look at our hand, all that we know about this hand is what it looks like to us and what it feels like. That's all we know. We don't see molecules and atoms and electrons and energy running around. We don't see that. You know, that's not some hidden reality behind or smaller than what we can see. All that we know for sure, for certain, right now, right here, is that I see what looks to be this hand shape, and I can move it, which is nice, and I can feel it. When I touch it, I can feel that. And so experientially, it's an appearance. We can't see inside of it, just right here, right now. We can kind of feel inside of it. But what I'm saying is that the substance of reality is what it appears to be. That's reality. And so whether or not this is an illusion or virtual reality or not, or whatever, like these are questions we don't really have to ask, because all that we know is that it exists, that it's here, that it's now, that it's reality, and it's part of our experience. And our experience is constantly changing. But it doesn't get more real than this. Like, within the non-dual understanding, you are reality. It's not dual. There's not you and then reality. It's all one. You are that. And so if you are reality, then anything that you think is separate from you that is also real, you are the one supplying that reality. It doesn't have it on its own because you are that reality. You are. At your deepest, most fundamental place, you are reality. And everything that you perceive to be real is only real because you say it is. And I'm not talking about your thinking mind. You know, you can't just be like, that lamp over there is not real. No, it's still going to be there. It's still going to have appearance, because what's doing that is not your thinking mind that thinks that it can control everything. It is your deepest self. Consciousness itself is doing reality. It is the programming. It is, all of that. Consciousness is reality. And what appears in consciousness is real. And every single conscious person is that. But they're all sitting in the same place. They're all sitting right there, right there. When you look at your experience and you're right at the center of it, they're right at the center of it too. I'm right at the center of it. And when are we right at the center of it? Now. Right here, right now. That is space and time collapse, because it's all right here, right now. And the only thing that we know for sure is that we exist, and that we exist here, and that we exist now. That's all that we know for sure. Everything else could be a virtual reality. You could say that. If there was some way to create hyper realistic virtual reality where there's no way to distinguish it within that virtual reality, you'd be able to do science and look at atoms and electrons and talk about mathematical equations. You'd be able to do that because hyper realistic reality would have to be real. Otherwise, you would get to a place where you would see nothing. If you kept looking down and down and down, and then eventually you looked inside of a molecule and there was just nothing, that there wasn't anything past that, then your reality would break down because you would realize that there's nothing, that it was all made up. But this reality is the realest thing there is, and the consciousness that is creating it is the most intelligent and most powerful and eternal thing that there is, because it is reality itself. And so it has the ability to continue to imagine reality to the very smallest to the very biggest. There is no end to infinity. We can imagine anything, and it will become real. But all that we know for sure is that we are, that we exist, that we experience right here, that we experience right now, and everybody, that's the case for everybody, everyone. So when a scientist is looking into his microscope at super small scales and seeing something there, where is he looking from? Right here. When is he looking at it? Right now. And what is it? It's an appearance. He's, all that scientist knows about that is what it appears to be. It appears to be a molecule. Okay, that's all you know about it. You know that it behaves in certain ways when you do certain things, but that's also what it appears to do. It appears to do that, it appears to be this, but you don't know for certain. You don't know that in the same way that you know that you exist, that you are right here and right now. That's the realest thing that there is. And at the end of the day, it's it is reality. And it imparts its reality to everything in appearance. Everything that appears to reality within reality is reality itself. That doesn't mean that it's anything more than an appearance. We can imagine that it is if we want. We can imagine that when we touch things and they feel solid, that it's because there's atoms and stuff and forces and bonds that are pushing against each other, and we can imagine all of this is happening kind of behind the scenes. But ultimately, in our direct experience of that, all that we know is this appears solid, and when I touch it, I don't go through it, and that's pretty wild. I don't know why. I don't know why, but that's what it appears to do. This is what it appears to look like and feel like, and that's all we know. So at the end of the day, I just ask you to look at your direct experience and slowly get rid of um, ideas that you have about it, and concepts and explanations and definitions and all of this mind stuff and mind work that's constantly happening, that is imagining that there's more going on than just what you're experiencing, the very simple experience that you're having right now. You don't need to add stuff to that. Why do you need to add stuff to that to make it real, to make it any more real than it is? It's already as real as it's ever going to be. And doing science about it and figuring it out, that's all fun things to do, but that doesn't tell you anything more about what it actually is, other than an experience within consciousness. So start looking at your direct experience and just start whittling away at all these things that you're adding to it, because it's just getting in the way. They're not necessary. If you go to a native in a part of the world where they don't have science or teach about atoms and things like that, they're going to be experiencing the world pretty similarly to the way that you are if you strip that all away. They're still going to be able to look at their hand and know exactly the same experientially about that you are. It doesn't become less real for them because they don't know about atoms and energy and all these explanations and stuff. It's just that. That's as real as it gets. No matter what you add to it, that's as real as it gets. There's not some hidden reality behind what you experience and what appears to you in your senses. There's not something hidden or behind it that we're trying to get to. It is that. It is exactly that. And it's all being known from the same place, and it's all being known at the same time. Anyway, that's about as far as I can take you for right now. I hope at least you enjoyed the thought experiment. Maybe it opened your mind to some new ideas and some questions that you can ask. It might be super confusing to you, and I understand. That's fine. I was exceptionally confused about it as well, and mostly because I was so focused on listening to people talk about it rather than actually looking at my direct experience and seeing what was there. Going to explanations and concepts and theories instead of just looking at what is there. So that's my challenge to you, is observe your direct experience and take away everything that you're adding to it and see what remains. And realize that what you can't take away, what cannot be removed, what is constant and always present, right here, right now, that is reality. That's as real as it gets. There's nothing more, nothing less. So go ahead and do it on your own, see what you find, see what you experience, and let me know how that goes down in the comments. I'd love to hear questions. If you want further explanations, I'm more than happy to do that. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and subscribe if you want to see future content. I will be regularly releasing from this point forward, attempting to put to words some understandings that are so deep they go beyond words. So it's a difficult thing to do, but I'm attempting it anyway for some reason. But I really appreciate you watching, and it's rewarding for me to be able to create this for you, and it's helpful to me to do so as well. They say that you don't really know something until you can teach it, so I'm working on that. And I'm so glad that you're here to join me on this journey. Thank you again. you watching this means the world to me. I hope that I can be of some help to you, some service, as you progress along your spiritual path. Go ahead and hit a like if you enjoy what I'm doing and you want to see more. But for now, I'll see you in the next video. Don't worry, I've got a lot more content for you to enjoy. Click the link to the right to see a video that goes hand in hand with what you just watched. On the left is a playlist I recommend you check out. And down below, you can see my latest video release. Your support means the world to me, so thank you.